Well, it's time to get the conversations started. I am very pleased to introduce a human who doesn't really need the introduction. This gentleman has racked up enough career accomplishments to fill 4 lifetimes, ranging from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, to the White House, to the leadership of the Airplane Owners and Pilots Association, to chairman of the board of Redbird Flight Simulations, to the cockpit of his Beech Baron. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Craig Fuller.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Trace. I appreciated that introduction. You know, this is a place we come every year to share a lot of the thinking that's going on at Redbird. And one of the things that I was reading recently to kind of prepare for this meeting and thinking about it was a book called Big Bang Disruption: Strategy in the Age of Devastating Innovation. And as I read the book, and right from the very beginning, it sounded so much like Redbird, in all honesty. And I wanted to just share a couple of things from the book before I start the review of the year. It says, the speed and the dramatic impact of Big Bang disruption are the result of disruptive technologies that continue to enter the market better and cheaper than their predecessors. In this brave new world, new products and services start out life competing simultaneously on price, performance, and customization. And thanks to ubiquitous high-speed computing networks, standards, and the rapid deployment of over 1 billion mobile devices, consumers around the world can discover these breakthroughs, the Big Bang disruptions, as soon as they come into existence. Marketing is led not from above, but by the users themselves, who drive much of the buzz and customer service through social networks, review sites, blogging platforms, and other information sharing. You know, that is the story of Redbird. And Redbird in 2008 had this disruptive breakthrough idea that you could create a simulator not by buying actual avionics, but by replicating it with computer technology and code. It was an ingenious idea because it suddenly made available to all of us in aviation a technology that was affordable only for those flying the largest, most sophisticated aircraft. Multi-million-dollar simulators that did remarkable work in creating safer, more proficient pilots. But because we got past the notion that you had to have the avionics and began replicating them, these systems that you'll see here became available for people doing their initial training, their recurrent training, their instrument training in light aircraft. And as exciting as that was then and continues to be today, what you saw on the screen and what you're going to hear about for the next couple of days is the next breakthrough. And it really comes, when you think about it, because the simulator, with avionics that have been replicated by a computer, can not only deliver to the student the exact characteristics that avionics would deliver in a cockpit, but the simulator can watch the student. The simulator can interact with the student. The simulator can do a walk around on the ground and talk to the student. The simulator, through trace technology and other things, can take people who literally have never flown in an airplane and have them doing short field takeoffs, flying the pattern, doing lazy eights, doing steep rolls. We know this because that's what the Flying Challenge did. And those people who have not had any flying experience can develop a level of performance that's close to many of us who have had considerable flying experience. The engagement and the interaction is remarkable, but it is disruptive. And it means that, as the book suggests, that we're in this together, that Redbird can develop, conceive, design, produce, and put into the marketplace exceptional teaching tools and exceptional technology. But it enables you, as I said last night, it's an enabler. It enables you to deliver a new kind of learning to people only if you're willing to take this journey with us. It's been an exciting journey for the last year, make no mistake about that. In the year since we were together at Migration, a lot has happened. And I wanted to share just a little bit with you. We've got some slides to give you some visual sense. One of the things we're very proud about is that the facility that you're sitting at, Skyport, was recognized by pilots across the nation as one of the leading FBOs in the country. Now, this is important because it brings people here every day to see what's happening here. And to achieve this award in such a short period of time is a real tribute. I see John back there, to John and his team. And it means that Redbird and Skyport are getting recognition across the country. One of the forms of recognition came early. When AOPA decided, with Mark Baker's leadership, I think it's a great idea to take AOPA out in a series of regional meetings. The first place they decided to come was right here in San Marcos to Skyport. 2,000 people, even on a slightly cloudy day, as you can see, traveled here, spent the day here, went through forums, saw aircraft, and I think in one of the images that I enjoy the most, we brought people of all ages and let them imagine the excitement of flight. I saw this, and this is thanks to our EAA friends who brought both the large plane and I think the models, but stimulated a lot of people with the opportunity to fly. So that got us started. The show that you saw at the very opening was one in which you saw somebody talk through a successful takeoff. Well, what you're going to see more of is the ability we have to actually, again, monitor what's happening in that cockpit and score individuals, so that individuals actually learn how to improve their capabilities in the cockpit as they fly and take off. This was Trace technology, but this is what was behind the challenge, the flying challenge that was offered, started, announced at Sun and Fun, offered all through the year. Hundreds and hundreds of pilots and non-pilots participated in flight schools across the country. Anybody with one of our simulators had the ability to load the program that allowed people to do this. Across the country, people could go into flight schools with Redbird simulators. We had a lot of people coming here, obviously. They could practice this on their J at home if they wanted to. But they competed in a competition. And the final competition took place on the large stage at AirVenture, where EAA hosted us. You see one of the FMX simulators on stage. That's Michael Goulian talking to the group of finalists that came from around the country. And it produced at the end 3 winners. Somebody who was a non-pilot, somebody who was a student pilot, and someone who was a pilot. Remarkably, their scores were not that far apart. They were extraordinary scores. They all flew the same consistent pattern. They had a chance to practice it before they got there, but not too many days before they got there. And they did an extraordinary job. And I think one of the takeaways I had from this was that we need to better understand how to help you, because the schools that embraced this, not just downloaded the technology, but actually embraced it and brought their students and people in the community into this program, benefited greatly. They found new customers. They found student pilots bringing friends. They had instructors who would host an evening one night a week where if you could beat the instructor bought the pizza. Every one of these young people who participated in this had a great story. And I think the youngest, who was, I guess because of the law, too young to actually participate in a contest and win an award, was 13 years old. And his parents and this young man were so excited about what he'd been able to accomplish. And again, he was introduced to all of this through this simple concept that made possible, enabled, if you will, by Redbird. Of course, you've seen and heard about the helicopter flight training device, the VTO. Some of you have seen it before. It is here in the other room over there. It's now in production. It has been tweaked and made into a very precise helicopter full motion simulator that hovers. It is unique in terms of what it is capable of doing at its price point. We're very excited about it. I saw Ken earlier. I know they're very excited about it with a heliport over in nearby in Dallas, 2 of them actually. So we hope to see this out in the marketplace across the country. It is a very exciting product. The team has spent a great deal of time on it. Literally hundreds of the components inside this simulator actually had to be designed and manufactured by the Redbird engineering team. We even actually one day got David Hirschman, a great dear friend of mine, who's I think more comfortable flying fixed-wing aircraft, but we even got David in the VTO one day for a flight. I mentioned the Challenge Cup. One of the things that was developed with the Flying Challenge Cup was the landing website. Landing continues to exist. Landing for Redbird is going to be a place where we're going to interact with people who are interested in learning more about our technology. The Disruption book talks about how companies that are disruptive companies don't find just one niche and compete in one niche. They compete simultaneously across the board. And so while Redbird started with the desire to bring a lower cost, sophisticated motion simulator to training aircraft, the success has also driven us to the higher ends. This is a Cessna Mustang cockpit. It's an extraordinary experience to fly one of these custom-made simulators. One of my joys at AOPA was flying the Caravan. It's a wonderful, wonderful aircraft, as you know, used all over the world. I trained on a multi-million-dollar simulator. The Redbird simulator is now travels around the world, multiple ones of them, sold around the world to these wonderful companies that are flying charter or passengers, want the ability to train locally, to provide recurrent training, and a Caravan simulator does that. And then one of my favorites is the Citation CJ1 Plus, which has the replicates the Collins ProLine avionics. The owner of one of these in New Orleans told me he didn't want to take delivery till I flew it. I think he might have exaggerated my skill as a designer of simulators. But Todd Wellinger and I got in it one day in Austin and spent a couple hours. And I called the owner and said it is ready to go. And I've now gone to New Orleans, and he's built a whole room in his office complex for this simulator, about which he is very proud. And I think we're going to see more of these delivered to people who have the ability to afford these higher-end aircraft, but want the ability to ensure their proficiency by having easy and quick access to these sophisticated simulators. Well, Trace Redbird mentioned a couple of our coming attractions. The Trace technology, which was sometimes known as the green boxes, although it's a lot more than that on the simulators that you've seen during the challenge and the competition, is something you're going to hear a lot more about today. It is that what gives us the ability to have an interaction between the student and the simulator. It is what gives us the ability, I would say to people who wondered about this, I said, well, let me ask you this. If I told you this afternoon I want to go out and teach you to fly a Lazy 8, how do you think you'd prefer to learn it? You know, watching me do a video, reading a book, or sitting in the simulator and actually experiencing this, and then we'll go fly it on the airplane. And the speed at which people learn with Trace technology is just remarkable. Scarlett was mentioned. Scarlett has been in development. It really gives, it's a tool for flight instructors sitting in an airplane or sitting in a simulator, actually sitting in a simulator to direct what that simulator is doing by voice. And that's again a tool that we want to provide to flight instructors to utilize these simulators in the most effective manner possible. Now, we've talked about Red Hawk. Red Hawk is another part of the concept, which is if you're teaching people to fly utilizing the best technology that the simulators can offer, you want them to then transition on a regular basis into an aircraft that also represents the best in technology. New aircraft, I don't need to tell this group, are very expensive. So Redbird decided to find a way to develop an aircraft that was at least more affordable, at half the price of a new 172, roughly, a leasing program that makes them available. And the Marine Academy here has one. This is a picture with their particular color scheme and door. But we're very excited to see the Red Hawk, Red Hawk, in production just down the road a ways. I think you could go take a look. They were working on one early this morning when I came in. But we're very excited to see the Red Hawk now out and available to flight schools. Of course, Redbird Skyport utilizes the Red Hawk in the training programs we run here, so we've got a lot of knowledge and information about just how it performs, just what the success we've had with the diesel engine. It's an exciting new development, and I think can make a real difference in pilot training. I know from the research that I was involved in years ago that the condition actually of the aircraft, the training aircraft for the student today, is a very, very important factor in seeing them complete their training, and so the Red Hawk is making a contribution there. Redbird is global. Since we were last together a year ago, 332 flight simulators from Redbird have been produced and delivered around the world. We're actually now in 42 countries. 42 different countries have Redbird simulators, and there's over 1,000 here in the U.S. It is why Jerry likes to say that Redbird was the only company on the planet that could pull off the flying challenge, because we have this kind of reach through you, this kind of reach around the community. Let me end by where I started, though. A company that's engaged in disruptive technology and business, a company like Redbird, can't succeed without you. I found this poster. It's only possible for us to do what we do by enabling you to reach the student population, the people that are really interested in flight training. And it's not just reaching them to engage in the training. It's showing them how they're going to train in a way that encourages them to come in and try it, stay with it, become private pilots. And then after they become private pilots, you provide them a means of flying safely and proficiently by doing the recurrent training that we all know is so important. Well, that's been a quick year in review. I hope you've enjoyed the trip as much as we have. I can't wait to see what comes next. Thank you very much for listening.